I'm Nick Servo. I'm here to do my persuasive speech. So I'm going to start off by asking you guys, what's something that has a warning label on it? Bobby?
Child store.
Child store, okay.
Cigarettes.
Cigarettes, very good. Now, why do these things have warning labels on them? They help us know that they're not good for us, right?
Yeah.
So how else would we know if we didn't? We would basically just, go on everyone's word of mouth. We would have to wait until something happens. If a can of paint didn't say it was toxic, someone would try and, consume some of that, and we would then obviously see the effects. Otherwise, we wouldn't really know unless we found out the hard way. So why doesn't everything that's harmful for us have a warning label then, so that we can prepare ourselves for it? Most things do, but one of the things that doesn't is fast food. So why not? Because 1 in 4 people will eat fast food today, and that's a pretty staggering number for America. The fast food craze is an epidemic. A lot of people don't believe that it is. They think, oh, that's just a choice, But it is an epidemic, it's a disease. And I'm going to compare it to smoking a lot because it is an addiction. I'm also going to talk about, the known hazards. People think they know about most of the things that are bad with fast food. So I'm going to talk about them so you can find out the true facts. Also, some of the chemicals and the things you don't know. And then some things that we can do to save ourselves. So smoking used to be the #1 cause of preventable death in America. There was a study done in 2013 that it killed 5 million people that year. Hypertension killed 7.8 million people. Poor diet alone killed 2.8 million. And being overweight and obese led to 2.5 million. So those 3 things are directly connected with eating fast food and poor diet. And they killed 13.1 million people. That's almost triple the amount that tobacco killed that year. And if you don't think that's an epidemic, AIDS worldwide that year killed only 1.5 million. The Black Plague in the 1300s, from 1347 to 1350 to a 5-year span, killed 25 million people. Fast food will do that and more in 2 years alone. Okay, so a little bit more about smoking. In 1930, only 4.9% of people with lung cancer had it as a fatal disease. That rose by the time 1990 rolled around to 75.6% found fatal with it. In the 60s, there was a study done and it classified 13% of the US population as obese. That number rose in 2007 to 34%, so it almost tripled in about 40, 50 years. So it's just as rapid as smoking is. So the first warning label on cigarettes came about in 1964. And that was done because there was a lot of studies about smoking at the time and a lot of articles being published about how harmful it was. So there was an immediate action because I realized exactly how bad it was. And because of that, it started the trend of knowing how unhealthy smoking is. And we can see the long-term effects. There's things like the commercials where you see the person, hooked up to life support or something because they've been smoking all their life. And smoking's basically frowned upon, and it's not allowed in many establishments now. So how come the same thing hasn't happened with fast food? Especially because 71 million adults in the US are obese now, and another 50 million are overweight. That's an overpowering amount. So we're going to talk about the commonly known hazards. There's things people always talk about when they talk about fast food. We all know, everyone just says, oh, it's empty calories. But what does that really mean? Empty calories means there's no nutrients really in there. So all we're getting is calories, and that's it. There's no vitamins, minerals, anything that we can use to help support life. So when we don't get those nutrients, we feel we need to eat more. We're not satiated. We're still hungry because of that. So why does that happen? Part of the brain called the hypothalamus, that regulates homeostasis, which is basically your body's equilibrium. So it can tell you when you're cold to put a sweater on, when you're hot, maybe go from a sweater to just wearing a t-shirt. It tells you when you're hungry, it tells you when you're full, to stop eating, things like that. So when we're constantly overeating because we don't have enough nutrients, it basically raises the thermostat that is our homeostasis in the hypothalamus. And we literally become addicted. We start telling ourselves, I haven't eaten enough, I need to eat more. Even though you might have actually gotten a full healthy meal that day, you're so used to the unhealthy meals, you just continue to eat that much. And then, you feel always in hunger, and that's basically like withdrawal, almost like an addiction. So another thing that's in fast food that we always talk about is trans fats. So trans fats are modified unsaturated fats, and they do that so that they can have an appealing texture or form for us. And they also cause diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, hypertension, and heart disease. So warning labels. These are actually things that are on a cigarette warning label right now. So this is what we've talked about so far that could easily be on a warning label for fast food. So it can become addictive, lead to the things that I spoke about, and it's obviously not a sufficient source of daily nutrients. Okay. Now, there's a lot of chemicals that people don't realize are in fast food too. And the food industry, last year alone, spent $24 billion on chemical additives for fast food. Okay, why do they spend that much money? For two main things. It's the palatability and the health, and our health. So palatability, why do they do that? Palatability, it's what appeals to us. It's the color of the food so it looks appetizing. It's the flavor of the food. It's the texture of the food. Things so that we want to have a nice, juicy cheeseburger, when we're hungry. And as far as health goes with additives, it's about preserving the shelf life so that it doesn't spoil. And there is a little bit that goes along with safety so botulism doesn't occur. Now, the food industry, they try to emphasize that most of this spending is done for the safety part of it. But in reality, only 5% of that $24 billion goes towards the safety of it. And the average person consumes 15 to 18 pounds of those additives a year. That's like eating a pretty heavy bowling ball worth or a tire of just chemicals each year. So what are some of these chemicals? Casein is basically the nicotine of fast food. It's naturally found in milk, and in its natural form, it's pretty harmless. You do know people probably that love cheese because casein's naturally in there. Now, there's a refined and concentrated form of that goes into most fast foods, and it's not just dairy products. It's things like your fries, your burger buns, and then obviously, your milkshakes, your creamy dressings like ranch, everyone loves ranch, and things like sausage even too. There's also nitrite salts that are used as preservatives. Those cause stomach cancer. There's also saccharin, which is an artificial sweetener that's in a lot of desserts. And those can cause cancer in the bladder, ovaries, uterus, and skin cancer as well. There's also diacetyl. That's the buttery flavor. Sometimes it's in alcohol. Usually you'll find it in your favorite movie popcorn. And that is found to be harmful to the lungs and also increases your chance of Alzheimer's. So an updated fast food warning label. All these cancers that we can now get, lung damage, Alzheimer's damage, doesn't even, satisfy us for the day, and it's addictive. So how long before we actually can get warning labels? We can take a proactive and preventive route. We can start, signing petitions, getting our own word of mouth, educating our fellow people on it, being a good example, not actually going to the drive-thru when you're done work. Go home, cook yourself a healthy meal. Or else we're going to have to wait for the reactive action, which is basically how many people need to die. 13 million alone this year are going to die versus smoking that has the warning labels. So fast food, it's not the only cause of these things, but it's basically the key factor for a lot of these. So it's not also just drive-through food. it's most of your restaurants that are going to need warning labels too. I used to work at a place that they had an item that was under their appetizers, had 3,000 calories in it. It's a day and a half worth of calories, and that's supposed to be warming you up for your real meal. So food's not going away, fast food's not going to go away, people need the convenience. So knowledge is our best weapon. Smoking, it became popular because it became part of the culture, just like fast food is now. And when warning labels came about, that really changed the way people started to look at it. So fast food, right now, it's probably the #1 killer, and it's the #1 trend in America. So, like I said, there's petitions out there. A good one is lettersto mcdonalds.org, and that particularly fights against child advertisements. So, McDonald's, they love to get the kids in with Happy Meals and stuff, and that just raises them to say, McDonald's is good for me, McDonald's is what I want. And obviously, that's what we don't want. So I hope you guys learned something today. Thank you for your time.